Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. I'm sure you see the smile on my face. Today's daily recap is for Friday. Excuse me, Friday, November the 22nd, 2024. Friday. I'm going to start with the good stuff. I tell you, a tear kind of came to my eye, a happiness tear. Okay, so Jason goes by. I was choking earlier, y'all. Goodness, forgive my voice. Jason goes by to see Danny, and Dante had made French toast for the three kids, and he cut them into triangles the way Sam always did it, and they all kind of smiled and said that mom says it always tastes better in triangles. So they shared that fuzzy moment. Um, and Dante's like, I don't know what it'll taste like, but go ahead. And Sam, and Scout said, I tasted it. It tastes pretty good, right? So Jason walked in, and they all look. Danny goes, Dad. And so Dante looks over at him, and Jason walks over, and he sees them all having, French toast. And he says, can I have a word with Danny? Right? And so Scout said, but Danny was going to teach me how to play something, Conquest, whatever, some name of video game, right? And Danny kind of looked at her, and Jason says, no, you know what? No. Why don't you do this? Go teach your sister the game. I'll talk to Dante. And so Danny said, yeah, but you'll still be here when I'm done, right? And he goes, yeah. So Danny goes, okay, come on, Scout. And him and Rocco walk Scout out. So Jason's sitting down, and he this is really weighing on him, right? Parenthood. So even though he has a kid in college, but parenthood is weighing on him. So he was telling Dante, see, Dante doesn't know if there's another will, right? He said, okay, Sam wants the kids to stay together. And Jason said, yeah, I know. Not Jason. Dante said, yeah, I know. He says, but in her will, she wanted Danny to be raised by Drew. And Dante kind of looked at him, oh, you know, and he says, but the will was written when I was presumed dead. And Dante said, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Because he's thinking, wait, what? He goes, oh, okay. So that makes sense. So Jason says, but I'll be doggone. He didn't say doggone. You know what he said? If I'm gonna let sign my son over to Drew. He says, I do want to honor her wishes, but I'm not gonna do that. And so Dante says, no, I understand exactly where you're coming from. You are Danny's father. You are. And you should, your son should be with you. Because Dante's like, look, I ain't letting nobody tell my rock, who's going to raise Rocco, right? So Jason said, but I feel it should be Danny's choice. And Jason said that. And Dante's like, okay, I see that. He goes, I want Danny to know he has a say in what happens in his life. But I'm not going to sign him over to Drew because, see, then he'll think that I don't want to be his father. And that is absolutely not the case. So Dante's like, okay, hmm. I could see where, yeah. He says, but if I allow Danny to make the choice, I don't want Danny to feel obligated to choose me. If Danny really wants to stay with his little sister, Danny should be able to stay with his little sister without fear of hurting me or letting me down. So Dante was like, okay. Dante was really just trying to be a sounding board for Jason. So they heard this crash, and Danny and Rocco come out to the foyer area, and Scout had dropped some art paint and art supplies and all kind of paint got on the rug and she's like, oh no. And Danny and Scout were like, what happened? You were just supposed to get the game board. But I decided I wanted to make Thanksgiving decorations too. So I was trying to carry it all together, and they're like, but you had to do decorations now? We're supposed to be playing the game. She goes, I know. And I'm gonna be in I don't want Tracy to see this. I'm gonna be in so much trouble. So Danny says, okay, look, Conquest, whatever, the name of the video game's all about strategy. It's all about teamwork. So what we're gonna do this. We're gonna work together and we're gonna get this cleaned up. We're gonna use teamwork. So they put all their hands together and like teamwork go. Well, Dante and Jason had opened the room from the like family room, and they kind of heard some of that, and they heard the boys trying to help their sister, saying, we're going to help, we're going to get this done. And so they shut the door to the family room, and Jason said, are they always like this, like wanting to help each other and Dante said, yeah, pretty much they are. So Jason was just like, then I can't take Danny from Scout and Rocco. So then they open the doors again. They go to other scenes, and then they come back to them. And they said, okay, what's all this? And Scout said, it's all my fault. And then the boys jumped in. No, no, we should have been helping Scout, but we're helping her clean this up. And Scout says, but I don't want Tracy to see this. And Dante says, ooh, neither do I. you know. So Jason said, no, or Dante, one of them said, that's why we're out here to help get this all cleaned up. Okay. Because we're gonna help. So and Jason says, and we also wanted to come out here to tell you, um, we've made a decision about where you kids are gonna live. And so they looked, right? And so Danny's what's his name? Dante says, Rocco, I'm gonna talk to Monica, and I'm gonna see if we can move in here. And Rocco looked at him, and then um uh Danny says, but wait a minute. What about Scout? Drew's going to, or Rocco could have said it, one of the two. Drew's going to New York, to DC. That means Scout's going to have to move with him. What about Scout? Scout says, oh, no, 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 I don't have to. I've already talked to Daddy. I told Daddy I do not want to move to DC. And Daddy said, that's okay. I could stay here and he will commute to DC. So then Danny looked at Jason and he goes, what about me, Dad? What's going to happen with me? And so Jason says, well, you're going to stay right here and I'm going to move in with you. And Danny looked at him, really, Dad? And when that was a touching moment for me, because if we all know Jason, we all know this is a sacrifice. Okay. This is a sacrifice for Jason to move into a house that he grew up into, into a family he changed his name from, But see, he really won't be there a lot, which is what I was saying. Be there 3 nights, 4 nights a week and still keep your little room over Kelly's. I mean, come on now. Drew's going to be in and out. So, look, how often do we see Ned really there? Let's be real. So Danny hugged his father so tight, and Jason hugged him. And Monica, out of everybody moving in, Monica's gonna be the happiest with Jason moving into that house. She really, really is. So that was just kind of a moment for me. It was a real moment for me. Then we have it's trial day. Ava got the jitters, talking to Rick. Of course, he's gonna win. He's so confident. He's blah blah blah, and he's got to do this for his daughter, and all this other stuff, right? And so he finally calms Ava down, and they go to the courtroom. Christina is there, and then Molly walks in, and they're talking, and Molly's like, "Okay, Christina, how are you today?" She goes, "I'm fine." She goes, "No, really, how are you, Christina?" And she says, "No, the DA already prepped me, and Mom prepped me. I know what I'm gonna say. I know I can handle myself." And Molly says, "Okay, but my father is shrewd and he's tough. He's gonna try to knock you off your game." And so she goes, "But I'm not gonna let him." She goes, "Okay, okay." And then she goes, "Okay, but like, what about you?" She said something, and she goes, "Well, remember I said my father's shrewd? He called me as a witness for the defense." Christina says, "Wait, what? What would he want you to say? You weren't there." She said, "He is going to want me to talk about your character, to talk about," and it's funny, Molly used some polite words, really kind of polite, to describe Christina's, you know, one-sidedness, just running into danger without thinking. She just used good attributes. And Christina says, Molly, Molly, what are you going to say?" And so then that's when Molly kind of used some colorful attributes to describe Christina. She says, "Molly, we have to stick together. Ava has to pay for the death." And Christina kept saying, "Our daughter." See, she knew. If she would have said Adela, Molly would have been, "I am my father's witness," right? So she just kept saying, "Our daughter." Ava is responsible. She's like, "Sure, I should not have gone there, but I wouldn't have gone out that window if it wasn't for her. We have to do this for our daughter, Molly." And Molly says, "Are you asking me to perjure myself, lie on the stand? Because I can't. I could lose my license and everything. No, no, I'm not about to lie." She goes, "I'm not asking you to lie, Molly, but I need you to think. You talk about how shrewd, how smart your father is." She says, "Molly, you are just as smart, if not smarter." I'm thinking, yeah, not smarter, but right? And so she goes, "You know how to tell the truth, but in a more positive way." Molly's looking at her. She goes, "If you think about it, you can do it, Molly." So Molly says, she goes, "You think I'm wrong, don't you, Molly?" And Molly looked at her. She says, "Christina, usually you are wrong. But in this case, I think you're right. I can tell the truth, but pick my words very carefully. And if I do say something damaging during cross-exam the prosecutor, can clean that up. And so Christina said, yes. So they're holding each other's hands. And she says, where's TJ? And she's like, TJ's not coming. She goes, what? She says, no, TJ, it's too soon for him to relive. And he doesn't want to relive, that tragic day. And, but before I tell you what Christina says, before all this, Stella was at the hospital. And she goes, TJ, what you doing here? He goes, I'm working. She goes, well, wait a minute. Wait. Isn't today the trial day? And TJ says, yeah. Why are you here and not there? Well, Molly didn't want me to come. Molly says she can handle this. And, quite frankly, I really didn't want to be there. It's too soon for me. I didn't want to have to relive, that period. And so she said, TJ, and neither does Molly. And Molly knows you don't want to relive that. But Molly needs you in that courtroom to be there for her. Yeah, but I asked her. She goes, yeah, you asked her, TJ, and she gave you an out like she would. She pretty much said, boy, you better get on out of here, get dressed and get to that court. Everything but that, right? So when Christina is talking to her and Molly says, no, it's too soon for TJ. And so Christina says, is it? And she kind of, gestures with her eyes to turn around. Molly turns around and it's TJ looking handsome in that suit. And she came over, TJ, you're here. And she's like, are you sure? Are you sure that, you can? He goes, Molly, we're going to go through this together. And her eyes were all watery. That was cute, right? So Ava walks in and Molly is sitting with TJ and Rick walks in. Molly, can I have a word? And she looks at him and she gets up and she goes out in the hallway behind him. And he goes, I called you last night. She goes, yeah, I know. He goes, you didn't pick up and why didn't you call me back? She says, well, you know what? Maybe that's because I was blindsided by the process server slapping me with a subpoena to come and testify. I was busy. And he goes, I wanted to talk to you about that in person. I wanted to talk to you about that last night. She says, when? After I was blindsided like I was? No. She said, you had time. Molly, I'm doing, and TJ walks out. Wait, you are subpoenaing Molly to testify on Ava's behalf? And Molly looks at TJ and she looks at Rick. She goes, you know what? He goes, look, I have to it's an attorney's obligation to present the best defense for their clients. And so TJ said, an attorney. Yeah. And Molly said, but it didn't have to be you. Or she may have said both of those lines. I could be making that up, make it sound better. But she may have said both of those lines. She goes, but that attorney didn't have to be you. And she turns and she walks away with TJ, and Rick is standing there like, but I'm telling you, I'm doing this for you. Because, see, I've decided, even though I've been absentee for decades from you, well, a decade or more, decades, but I'm going to tell you what's going to help you. Mm-hmm. I know best for you. So the trial should progress next week, which is going to be pretty good. We also have, okay, they did have scenes with Trina and Gio. Trina wants to go to the courthouse, to support Ava, but she knows that, this is such a volatile situation. She doesn't want to put a strain between her and Josh and blah, blah, blah. And Gio's like, well, that's your friend. You do whatever you feel is right for your friend. It's still your choice. So we'll see. She'll go there. She'll sit there. Now we also have the last scene. Now, this was unlikely to me. Michael showed his hand to Curtis. He says, Curtis, I need to talk to you. And he goes, here and not at our office at Aurora. He goes, yeah, I need a privacy. Uh, here, private, like in you, privacy in this gym versus our private office at Aurora. He says, you're under the impression Drew is going to name you CEO of Aurora, correct? Curtis is like, yeah. And Michael said, yeah, that's because Drew has led you to believe that, right? And Curtis is like, yeah, in so many words. He says, well, you're not going to be CEO. Drew said he likes my vision, and I ran Aurora for years when Drew was presumed dead or gone. Yeah, presumed dead. I know the company in and out. And I have CEO experience. Michael was CEO of ELQ for years. To be so young, he's just done it all, right? And so Curtis says, and Michael said, Drew offered me the CEO position. And Curtis kind of looks like, oh, okay. He says, but he didn't offer it, but he's only offering it as a payoff. And Curtis is like, what kind of payoff? Oh, because he's going after my wife. And Drew says, wait, huh? But I kind of think everybody didn't Drew have a conversation with Curtis about Willow. I think he told Willow Curtis he kissed her. I kind of think he did. I know Curtis knows about Nina. Maybe he doesn't know about Willow. Hmm. But anyway, um, Curtis says, okay, now look, this is all personal information and it really has nothing to do with me, right? Why are you telling me this? And Michael said, because bottom line, I'm not going to be CEO of Aurora because I know why Drew's doing this. Okay. But I want you to know Drew is not going to, that Drew is not going to name you CEO of Aurora. He just as easily offered it to me. Now, he says Drew will put you back over the division of the health fitness division that Curtis was heading. He goes, he'll feel like he won't think of it as a demotion. He'll think of it as just a lateral move, moving you back. He says, and he will bring somebody else in if I decline. And so Curtis says, well, Drew hasn't indicated any of this to me. And since you're feeling that he's after your wife, he goes, oh, I know he is. I know he is. And Curtis says, see, this is a vengeance move. And I don't do business that way with vengeance moves. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do, Curtis. Get out of here with that. Yeah, you would. You do. And so Michael says, well, it's like this. He goes, and what if Drew actually does name me CEO? Michael said, then I wish you well. I wish you well. But he's not going to. Okay. So we need to work together and get Drew out of Aurora. He says, for one thing, I've run it longer than Drew ever has. He says, and now you have an understanding of what it's like to run that company. Us combined, Drew doesn't have what we have. But one thing I said, Michael, that was a bad move because Curtis is not going to do anything against Drew. He's just not going to. He might get pissed off. Drew might confide in him, look, Willow and tell him, But see, Drew's been so busy. I don't know why people are doing what they're doing. Like you told Alexis yesterday, I don't know why Jason did. You know exactly why, but you don't want other people to know why. But Curtis already knows something. We'll find out how that's gonna work, right? But it's just interesting to me. And Michael says, so you think about it. And when Drew shows his true colors to you, call me. And Curtis says, well, my eyes are wide open. Like I'm a, be looking, right? But I still think, friend, Curtis is gonna give Drew a heads up. I really, really do think that he's gonna give him a heads up. So we're going to go to Comic Corner. Hold on, let me get my trusty dusty. And I'm gonna turn my stopwatch on. And we're gonna go from there. Now today I'm gonna go from the bottom up, from the bottom up. And at the bottom, we have Monique says, the way Jason was fighting for Danny is the Jason I wish we had with Jake. I know. He missed all of that with Jake. Joanne says, yes, he didn't care about Jake, even now, out of sight, out of mind, and doesn't say he paid for art school. Don't say he paid for art school. That was pure guilt. And Jason didn't have to keep EP. What's EP? Trying to get on Jake's good side. Jake knows what Jason is and what he does. Um, yeah, probably, but Jake softened at the end. Bottom line, it's funny. Kids still will form an attachment with an absentee parent if that absentee parent gives them even half a bone, right? But that parent that's been with them through thick and thin, don't they give us a hard way to go? Wow. And then Lynn says, hi, Lynn. Lashanta says, Drew already trying to work Alexis. Jason needs to blow him out of the water. Jason all about free will and making your own choice. Chase and Brooklyn have to leave. Sam's condo needs to go back to Jason. Michael's just depressed. Um, it's gonna eat him up. Yes, it is. Talking in the house, anybody could overhear. I'm over TJ. Over TJ too. Denzel, I'm gonna read a paragraph out of his comment. Everybody, make sure you read all of Denzel's comments. The scene between Alexis, Jason, and Drew. I guess we're saying creepy Drew. Uh, Somebody said, "Don't say long neck because we don't talk about people's." Well, I never talk about, well, I don't say never. Sometimes I've accidentally, but I don't usually talk about actors' true features. Now, when you hear me saying long neck Drew, you're hearing me read comments. When I'm talking about Drew and how I can't stand Drew and Drew this, that, you've never heard me doing my recap of the show calling Drew long neck Drew. You will accidentally hear me say Ryan because that's just how he acted when he was Ryan Lavery on All My Children. I will say that. I will say I can't sleep. I mean, with the story they're giving him, right? But okay, I see your point. Long. Yeah, okay, so I'll just cut those out of the comments when I read that. I'll just say creepy, creepy Drew, because that's the comment. Uh, was tense. The fact that Sam still drew up and that will up. I don't quite get that. To let Drew be the legal guardian for both Danny and Scout is beyond me. I was glad that Jason wasn't having that. I will fight for Danny for custody. That was his son, Danny's choice to who he wants to live. And since he's old enough, he can make his decision. And that decision, he wants to live with his dad, not Drew, not his uncle Drew, which is true. Um, and we see how Jason handled that today. That touched my heart. I really, really liked that. And it's funny. Let's see what Drew does when he finds out Jason is moving into the house. Oh, he really gonna try to telecommute. Being in Congress, right? He to keep an eye on his brother, even though he knows his brother. Come on now. Annette says, I'm with you. Fast forward Trina. Marla says Trina is becoming insufferable. I thought Christina was wrecking my nerves. Trina sounding more and more like her mother. And then Hello There says, uh, you're missing the point though. I'm willing to bet Kai is illiterate and only got to college through a football scholarship. I think he's really just can't read or write, but it's okay. Recap lady will brush off my comment as she always does. Okay, hold up. Let me read that last sentence. Recap lady will brush off my comments as she always does. Hello there. How you gonna say that? You have been with me in Comment Corner for 3 years since the beginning. I don't brush off comments. I may not share the same train of thought that you share, but I don't say, "Oh, they hello there made a comment. I'm not going to read her comment." I think some people kind of misunderstand how many comments I'm actually going to read. And sometimes when I read the last comment, that person's comment is next, right? So what they feel is Daily Recap Lady intentionally did not read my comment. It doesn't work that way. I read comments until I get tired of reading them. It has nothing to do with who wrote the comment. And it all depends on how I feel. I shoot for 10 minutes. But if other things have gone on in my day, I don't even make 10. You may get 7 minutes of Comment Corner out of me. The beautiful thing about Comment Corner is you all are reading each other's comments and you all are talking about the soap opera with each other. And I'm starting to get the hurt feelings about me missing. It's inevitable. So the only other choice I have is not do Comment Corner at all. But everybody says, not everybody, a lot of people say Comment Corner is the better than me doing the recaps, which I don't understand that. But anyway, it is what it is. None of it is personal to me. None of it. I mean, you all hear sometimes when Denzel gets a little testy because somebody commented on him, and you'll hear me say, "Oh, stop it, Denzel." And I'm not taking that personal. It's just no, we're gonna still play nice in the sand. Period. So I don't get that hello there. I don't brush off your comments as she always does. That ain't true. And I'm gonna comment on that because that's not what I do. And I do know you've been one from day one. I just like right now today, I said I'm going from the bottom to the up, right? Well, hello there. If you were at just about the 10-minute mark and you were next, and I said, oh, that's it for the daily recaps. So you'll think, okay, I was next, she brushed my car. It doesn't happen like that. When I stop, I stop. And it's always at somebody's name. And now that I've gone on this stupid tangent, which is less comments I'm going to get to today, but I just had that just threw me for a loop right now. What the heck? Annette says, I'm with you. Fast forward. Trina. Marla says, Trina. Oh, no. It's because that was a duplicate. It's becoming insufferable. She like a mother. Um, Let me see. We have Ashley says, I don't appreciate the nurses getting blamed for Sam's death. I don't like that angle either, whatsoever. And I especially don't think Liz would get the honors. I don't think that, yeah, Portia, I don't like that at all. Portia degrates on me, even when she's not shrieking. Is it me or does she feel condescending towards everyone except Curtis? Except Curtis and except Trina. Yeah, she is. She's snooty about it, right? And then Jean says Diane will beat the case. Yes, Diane will if it comes to a true paternity fight. Because, like a lot of people are saying, I think Diane has the updated will. And Alexis hasn't even talked to her partner. She hasn't even said anything. Jean says Drew will have a little baby sister, his daughter. What does that mean? And Lucy says, I hope not. Unplanned pregnancies are so 1950s. Um, and that's it for Comic Corner, y'all. See, I'm at 10 minutes after all that. So that's it. Everybody, please read whatever comments that I did not get to. And just talk amongst each other. You're so great with that. I really appreciate the the input on Comic Corner. So I hope I don't have to stop doing it. But if I get enough people thinking I'm slighting them, then nobody will think I'm slighting them because you could all just read comments and comment yourself. But I like saying them out loud because it's almost like me talking to you when I read Comic Corner. And sometimes I ask a question, said, "Hey, Comic Corner Land, there's so and so such and such," and I'm reading your comments in the day and I get that answer. So, anyway. All right, everybody. I will be back on Monday with another daily recap of General Hospital.